Good afternoon and welcome to On the Spot Motorsports Media. I'm your host, Mitchell Gunter, right along with Robert Simpson. Hey, and we got a special guest tonight, Luke Bogacki. He's coming on. And I tell you, if you're in bracket racing and been involved in it for a very long time, and if you don't know who Luke is, you've been living up underneath the rock, I'm going to tell you.
Yes.
So we're going to bring Luke on tonight. We're going to talk a little bit about his career, his business, and maybe some of the things that may help you become a better racer down the stretch. But before we get into all that, we have a few commercials, and we will be brought back after these messages.
Reliability to drive thousands of miles. Confidence for those who fly high. Redline oil products give you the power to crush the competition. And a track record of being the best. Redline oil products. You push it to the limit, we'll protect it.
Ready to take your engine to the next level? Scorpion Racing Products delivers precision-engineered, high-performance rocker arms that dominate the track. 100% CNC machined in the USA with aerospace-grade aluminum for unmatched strength and durability. Our rocker arms handle extreme conditions with multiple ratios available to fit your needs. Backed by our exclusive lifetime warranty. When performance matters, choose Scorpion Racing Products. Proven, reliable, unstoppable.
With more than 30 years of engine and drivetrain experience, Big Stuff is your one-stop total power management solution. Whether you're controlling a 600 horsepower street car and want the best drivability, or have a 6,000 horsepower race car, need the most bulletproof, reliable control hardware, Big Stuff can do it all. All of our components are designed and manufactured right here in the USA, including our computers, wiring harnesses, touchscreen displays, and more. Nothing is built offshore, and we take pride in being one of the only automotive aftermarket manufacturers that can say this. Learn more at bigstuff3efi.com or connect with us on Facebook and Instagram for more information.
Gaspar Ping Body, your premier heavy-duty body shop. Semis, trucks, boats, you name it. Nothing's too big for our body shop. Our 50-foot paint booth makes this possible. It's worth the drive, it's worth the trip. Gaspar, Paint and Body.
Well, Luke, I want to thank you for joining us this afternoon. It's quite an honor to have you on with your reputation and what you've done over your career.
Well, the pleasure is mine, guys. Thank you for having me on tonight. I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah. So before we dig into everything, a lot of people want to know how in the world did you get involved with drag racing? About what age?
I think, like a lot of racers, my dad raced. So when I would watch my dad, I think, again, this is not necessarily unique to me. My dad was my hero. So just watching him tame, especially at a young age, like this untamable machine, I thought that's what I want to do. You know what I mean? And I wanted to be like my dad anyhow. So there wasn't a time growing up, like if you went to the race without me, I would have been upset about it. Like I think I was always there by his side. And then when I was actually born in Southern California. We lived there till I was like 8, and then we moved to North Texas, and 3 miles from Texas Raceway, which is basically where I grew up at a time when that's where Scotty and Edmund raced, and the Hefflers and Tommy Phillips, and was really fortunate to grow up where I did when I did. And then I think I was almost 12 when NHRA kind of introduced the Junior Drags Racing League, and my dad got me involved pretty early on, and it just kind of snowballed from there.
Gee whiz, I had forgotten that you started in juniors.
Okay. it's a lot of years ago.
Oh man, I was thinking you started with a streetcar or something like that, but well, that's good. That's good. And the reputation of that track, I have heard so many stories. Tommy Phillips, a long time back, I heard him telling stories of just going there, and the Richardsons was there, were there, and just everybody, and then where they've gone on from their career. beyond that is absolutely amazing. So again, like Mitchell said, Luke, thank you very much for coming on tonight in your crazy busy schedule. But now also going from the juniors, when did you step up into said door car or something like that?
Yeah, so I actually only raced the juniors for about, I guess it was 2 seasons, and partially, like, I'll be honest, I got in some trouble at school. I got a little bit burnt out. My dad was wanting to build. He had a Vega when I was growing up, and he wanted to build an altered. So combination of it all, we sold the junior and the Vega and built his altered. And I kind of laid low for a year or two. I actually worked at Texas Raceway pumping gas at the gas pumps, and I saved up a little bit of money and bought myself it was a '73 Nova. It was poo brown. It was god awful. Like it was rough. And anyway, I say that it wasn't that rough when I first got it, but I made it rough pretty quick. Like we cut the door leaves out of it. Anyway, I started racing it at a little outlaw track. I was 14, which I think they kind of knew at the time. They just didn't ask. But it was the only place that they would let me race. And so my dad would take me down there once a month or so until I actually got a valid driver's license and then could race it at Texas Raceway every week. And we got to travel around a little bit from there.
I like your description of your car. It was okay when I got it, but I undid it.
It was like a pretty nice, hot rod type street car. Well, at Cedar Creek at the time, the break to run Super Pro was like $8.99 and faster. Mm-hmm. And one of the first weekends I raced, it went like 903, 906. So we just took the front bumper off. It's a '73, so it had those huge crash bumpers on it.
Yeah.
Probably weighed 120 pounds, right?
Right.
So that got me down to the brake. Well, the front bumper never made its way on. And then the following off season, we decided to put it on a diet. So '73 was the first year they put the big crash beams in the doors.
Right.
Well, we torched those out, and we were going to paint it. We just never really got to that. So it still had the torch marks down the doors. We put a fiberglass hood on it. That didn't really match. My dad cut out the rear fenders so we could put it. There it is. Yeah.
Yep.
So we could put bigger tires on the back, and you can see where he rounded out that fender. I mean, that thing's sweet, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, I raced it in that form for probably at least a year, and then we did paint it gray, and it looked a lot better anyway. But yeah, that was my start.
If that car ever became available, would you ever want it back?
That thing was pretty rough. Now I say all the time, and I don't know where it ended up, but my dad's Vega when I was growing up, like somebody watching this may know where that ended up. A lot of people, sometimes I get asked if my Vega is my dad's old car, by people that have known me forever, and it's
Right.
not. And my dad's car, from what I remember, it probably wasn't half the car my Vega is, but I would love to have it just for sentimental value. I don't know where it ended up, but it'd be cool to have it back in the family, and maybe my boys race it someday.
I wonder if there's some kind of distinctive thing about your father's car that would possibly still be there. I don't know what, but I wonder, is there anything you can think of?
No, because it was like refrigerator white, and it was your basic ladder bar Vega. I mean, it seems like there was a million of them, and I don't remember enough about it to say like, oh, it probably still has this. You know what I mean? I'm sure it was still in that area when I moved. I'd imagine it hasn't gone too far, but I don't know. I'd have to do a little digging.
Yeah, you would, and you'd be the only one to retain that knowledge. That's for sure.
Right.
But you started, like I say, you started like in juniors and started very humbly with your Nova. Okay, now in your career, when did you progress out of running local tracks to more closer to what you're doing now?
Right.
So, I mean, I think that the path and the dream was always there, just because it didn't seem that far-fetched racing with, whether it's Scotty and Edmund or Tommy or whoever week in and week out, like they had blazed that trail, so to speak. So that was always, at least for me, kind of the goal. And we were really fortunate. Like when you look back, it seemed like it was a simpler time. But when I was actually, so I got a hardship license when I was 15 and I could race at Kennedale. I guess when I was 16 is when I started venturing out a little bit, just locally. And we had at that time, our home track at Kennedale, they raced on Saturday nights, but they had like a Wednesday night, test and tune with a jackpot race that might have 20 cars in it.
Right.
And then just that year, maybe it was when I was 17, it was 97, I'm pretty sure. They had a Thursday night high school drags every Thursday. And so I would go do that, Paris raced on Friday. That was about 2 hours northeast. Kennerdale Saturday, and then Temple raced on Sunday. It was 2 hours south. And I'm not saying I race 5 days a week every week, but I race 5 days a week a lot of weeks. In that area. I think I put like 900 runs on my Nova that year. When I'm 16, 17 years old, and just I was in high school. I worked a little bit at Cameron Race Cars, but when I say that, like, I don't really know when I worked. Probably didn't do a whole lot. And I had a Suburban with a little open trailer, and the Nova was like pump gas, go mid-eighths on the 8th mile. Like, you didn't tear much up, and you just drive it on the trailer, put a couple straps on it, and go to race somewhere the next day. And it was all I wanted to do. So looking back, like, that was really fortunate just to get the runs, you know what I mean, and the seat time and everything like that. I guess it was a year after that, my dad let me drive the Altered that I spoke about earlier. It was a center steer Bantam Roadster that he built in our garage, but it was actually really nice. It was solid rear, torsion bar front, and it actually seemed to work better the faster we went. Like, I all but crashed it several times with a small block in it, going like 560s, 570s. Mm-hmm. And we put a big block in it where at the time it was fast. It was like 530s, but it worked way better, and it was a lot easier to drive. And I had some success in it, and actually won our local track. Their biggest race at the time was a Labor Day event, and they would have a race for a dragster. And I won that in my dad's Altered. That's how we got our first dragster. And we ended up selling the Altered to finish the dragster, and it just kind of went from there.
Right.
Oh, man. Talk about a trial by fire.
Can you recall about how many wins that you have had over the years?
Someone asked that. Someone asked that recently, and the best I can figure, it's like between 300 and 350, something like that.
To have such problems, right? Just
there's a part of me that just wish I would have like kept track so I could go, oh yeah, here's the number. But I think it's somewhere in that range.
Well, I think an interesting question is, how many tracks have you raced at?
So Jed and I, when we did the podcast, we went through that exercise, and at that time, which I haven't been to too many new to me tracks recently, but it was just over 100. Like, I think around 105, 110, something like that. It's a lot.
Yeah.
Part of that, I think, because I've actually raced at, and part of that was growing up in Texas in an area that was full of racetracks at the time. I moved from there to Alabama to an area that was really rich with racetracks, and then relocated up here to where we are now in Southern Illinois. So having 3 different home bases that probably had 10 tracks within, vicinity, that helped a lot. And then obviously the years that I spent on the road added to it as well.
And I think the first time that I met you, Luke, I want to say it was at remember the DRR races that they had? I think that's the first time I met you, and it was at Gainesville.
At Gainesville, yep. Good memories of that series as a whole, and then specifically getting to go down to Gainesville, because until I got into NHRA racing, I didn't have much opportunity to race at that place, and obviously it's a pretty special facility.
I really wish that series would have kept on and prosper, because it was a lot of fun.
It was a really neat premise too, to do like a truly nationwide bracket series. It was awesome.
There was a lot of good series, the B&M series and other stuff that happened at time, and I know Jed talked about that in past whenever I've talked to him, or we talked to him about that and those things. Now we're just talking like, well, hey, how'd you get started? Stuff. Some people might not realize that you have pulled off, or you have earned something this year that has never happened in the history of IHRA. You have you've had opportunity. You went to, I call it the bracket final. I know there's a different name for it. We call it the bracket final, and you won both in top bulb and bottom bulb. So Super Pro and Pro the same day with the same car for the first time ever. So tell us about that unbelievable weekend.
Yeah, I mean, a really special day, like dream day for sure. Now, to be fair, like the reason that nobody had done it before, part of the reason at least, is they didn't allow it. Like you couldn't run both classes. You couldn't qualify for both classes up until like 2 years ago, I think. So thankfully they changed that rule, because the only way to get into that event is, well, there's a few different methods, I guess, but the majority of the racers there won their local track championship. And if you dedicate your whole season to winning the track championship and do it in 2 classes, I feel like you should you've earned the 2 opportunities. So I'm
Agreed.
glad that they made that change, not just selfishly, but just as a whole. I think that's appropriate.
Right.
But no, to get there, I mean, it's a relatively small field because it's all either track champions, the ET finals champions from each division, or the IHRA tracks all have the option to host. They call a sportsman spectacular. If you win one of those events, you get a bid. So everyone that's in the field won something pretty significant. You know what I mean? It's like it's a relatively small field, but really good racers and pretty exclusive. So it's an honor. I think we all felt an honor just to be there, right? And mix it up. And to your point, this season, we were in the process of moving. My boys are growing up and investing into junior dragsters. It just made a lot of sense for us to chase points at home at our local track here at I-57 Dragster.
Mm-hmm.
And I won the track championship in top by a fairly comfortable margin. I had no business winning the track championship in bottom bowl. It came down to I lost early on the last event, and the Ryan Markham had the best chance to catch me. He had to win the semis to pass me. He lost in the semis, so I won by like less than a round. But that gets me the 2 bids there, and honestly, once we got to Steel for the World Finals, the way that IHRA sets that up, it's a cool atmosphere to begin with. You know, everybody feels it's definitely an honor to be there, and they do a really good job of making us feel like it's a big deal to be there.
Right.
But from a purse standpoint, there's no entry fee and it's $25,000 to win, but it was $800 to win first round. So my sole goal was just incredible, right? So my goal, I'm like, man, it's a good weekend if I could win first round, especially if I could win first round in both classes. So those 2 win lights came on, and I'm like, we're free rolling. Like, this is home free.
Yeah.
So I know, like, yeah. And then, you know, as the day goes on, like, it ends up like it's a 6-round race in both categories. And I would say probably about the quarterfinals is the first time I allowed myself to think like, oh, this could be a really special day. And it was just one of those where everything kind of fell into place. I feel like I made really good runs in the top bulb category. Like I would have been fairly difficult to beat. I mean, top bulb is so competitive typically, but I ran outside. I think first round I had a really good run in both classes. And then after that, almost across the board, I ran really good racers that probably made their worst run of the day. And it just kind of lined up. I made pretty good runs on top. I didn't make particularly good runs on the bottom, but it was like just right place, right time all the way through.
Right.
Now, can you kind of explain how you were able to focus and run top bub and bottom bub? Because I know reaction time is your
forte.
Your forte. I mean, you teach how to become a better person at the tree. So see if you can explain a little bit that to our viewers.
Well, I'm fairly used to it, for one thing, right? Going back and forth, and especially this season, because that's what I did in the Vega on a week-to-week basis. But I'll tell you, and people laugh at me when I say this, but that event, for as small a field as it was, you know, it's pretty fast-paced, obviously. There's a few classes in between. But all year long, we raced at home at I-57, and I'm running, we call it Super Pro, Top ET, and Pro, or Modified. Mm-hmm. Half the time, my wife is racing her dragster in top, and both of my sons are racing junior dragsters. So, like, one of us goes down the racetrack at I-57 every 10 minutes, it seems like it's just nonstop. So the pace at Steel being double entered was almost like, oh, this is nothing. Like, I feel like I had trained myself up for this chaos all season long to where that didn't seem like it was that big of a mental, the mental gymnastics weren't as intimidating as they typically would be.
You probably got out of your car after a round or two and you're looking around like going, okay, I know I should be doing something, but what is it? You know, you probably had to check yourself a couple times.
I joked that with a Facebook post early in the year, I went by myself. I think the boys were in school to a race a couple hours away from home here, just with my Vega. It was single entry. It was one class. And so I go with one car and I unload it and I just run one class and I'm sitting around like, what do I do with my hands here? Like, I'm just not used to this. It's nice, but this is not what I'm used to. So, yeah.
Right. That's how it is. I run 2 classes. Mitchell sometimes runs 2 classes a night, and I agree with you. It's just like, I look at it as like you're there to race. Let's have fun.
Well,
Okay, and
let me
go at
correct
it.
Robert. I used to run 2 classes until I screwed up. I forgot what class I was in because it was coming down to, I don't know, maybe the
Late rounds.
quarterfinals, and I didn't come back around quick enough to get into the other race. And I was like, oh no,
I wasn't gonna.
I screwed up.
I wasn't gonna bring that up, Mitchell. I was leaving that out. Okay, you totally did that
It
to
can be
yourself.
confusing when the rounds start getting
You
winding
know,
down. It
I
can get a
totally.
little confusing.
I
I
left
think,
that out.
Mitchell, like to the actual kind of nuts and bolts of your question, and one thing that we teach to some degree, especially in that situation, like I'm running the same car, doing two very different things, letting go of the button on the top, and I was actually just swapping feet on the bottom. I'm for whatever reason, I'm more comfortable doing that than letting go of the trans brake on the bottom. And so the variance in that from round to round, what I do and what we teach is just we've all got a routine on the starting line, right? That and you try to make it the same round after round after round. Well, I very intentionally change up one small facet of the routine for each class, just as kind of a trigger and a reminder, like, okay, we're on the bottom, you know what I mean? And just kind of running back through what needs to happen. And I think I've done it so many times now that it's more subconscious, but that trigger in the routine. And for me, it's just like the time that the time in the sequence that I pull the car into low gear is different top bulb than bottom bulb, but it's just enough to kind of reset me and like, okay, this is what we're doing right here. And I think
It's a remind. It's a somewhat of a reminder. That makes sense. That makes sense.
Well,
I
I've
thought
seen
of
a
that.
lot of people what they would do running both classes. They'll take a piece of tape or something, and they'll know right where that place is on their windshield, and they'll put that piece of tape where they only see the bottom bulb come on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Now I hang a blinder to block the other side of the tree because a lot of the tracks up here they're getting better about adding a blinder,
Right.
but typically it was just an open tree, and that I don't have the focus, like that'll distract me. But short of that, I'm not real big on trying to block the top two, just because I feel like you always kind of see around it or see a glare. So from that instance, in impact, like I am doing two very different disciplines, but like even I don't think I'm ridiculous in terms of practice, but like I do have a daily regimen and I just make 5 hits on the top and 5 hits on the bottom, like every day. So going back and forth becomes more and more natural, I guess.
That makes sense. Now, when you use a blinder, do you close one eye or do you leave both open?
Yeah, no, I have to close one or the depth perception gets all skewed. So like I said, it's just a piece of cardboard wrapped in duct tape. And I went through a kind of a dominant eye test. Like if you
Right.
stick your hands in front and close one eye, it'll move. And the one that doesn't move, that's your dominant eye. I'm right eye dominant. So I always close my left. I don't know if that matters, but I'm convinced myself that that's the way to do it. So I'm staring at it with my right eye.
Well, no. That makes sense. It's that's what I was getting ready to ask you along those lines. You know, how do you find out which eye is more responsive? But you just answered a dominant eye test, so that does make sense, and that simplifies things in a way. You know what I mean? It's like going, this is it, stick with it. You know, and
Yep.
those things. But going back, and we're going to talk about the history of your Vega, which, by the way, huge Vega fan. Just saying.
All
Just
right.
in
I'm that
general,
kind of guy.
my uncle, my father built one of the first super gas cars in Division Two, and it was a Vega. Okay, so got an attachment there. But what I wanted to ask you is, coming up, like you said, growing up and starting to, you came out of the juniors, you got into your Nova, you got into your father's Roadster, which then graduated to the Dragster that you won. Okay, is that where the traveling started? Started running like super gas races and started traveling around more and branching into this?
Yeah. So initially, it was more around bracket racing, like the big money scene was becoming a thing. I say that we ran a fair amount of Division 4. I ran Super Comp, even in the Altered, and Jeremy Heffler let me drive a stock eliminator car. In fact, I was 16 or 17. I drove. It's crazy to look back because just the between Jeremy, like buying and selling cars, and he and Jeff both racing. Like I got to drive his car at the first 4 events, and then it wasn't available or something came up. But in that opening year, and again I was like 16 or 17. I drove for Jeremy Heffler, I drove for Tommy Phillips, and I drove for the Emmons brothers at like
Really?
16 years old. Yeah, I mean, what are the odds, right?
I know, right?
We ended up buying a Chevelle station wagon from the Emmons brothers and trying to run stock on our own, which at that time was a huge mistake because we had no idea what we were doing. Like we literally went through more camshafts than gallons of fuel in the year that we owned that car and ended up giving up on it. So we did a little bit of that, but my first, like what I would say kind of serious traveling. So the first year that I had the dragster, which I think it's 99, so I'm like 18. I'd had some success racing around home, and a guy by the name of Brian Finley that raced with us, he just out of the blue, I think I'm telling him about the $1 million race and like just how excited, how one day my dream is to go to that event. And Brian's in there and he's like, well, why don't you just go? I'll pay your way. I thought he was joking, right? Well, ends up, he puts us in the $1 million race. So we went to Montgomery, Alabama, which is where the Million was hosted that year.
Right.
And I predictably got my teeth kicked in for 3 days. But the last 20 grander, I ended up winning the race. And that was really our first, I wouldn't say it was our first trip out of town, but it was definitely the first time we'd been to a race of that magnitude.
Right.
And to then come out on top, like the boost and confidence and ego and all the things that I think really kind of play into allowing something like that to snowball. That was a big, big deal at that moment. So from there, like I remember going, I think it was the next year we went to Rockingham for the Millennium Million. I didn't do any good, but we started trying to running around, and then IHRA came to our neck of the woods. Then when they kind of broke up into divisions and they brought their Pro-Am series to Division 4, Texas, Louisiana, we chased that, and that took us traveling a fair amount as well. So at that point, throughout my college years, especially, I got to run around a fair amount.
Yeah, like Jed said, yeah, you're very humble.
Yeah.
You've worked very hard, and you've run a lot of races, and through your hard work, you've been successful. I call it luck is when preparation meets opportunity. Okay, and you're definitely known for working hard and preparing, and putting yourself in a good position. And so,
Well, I
I
appreciate that. I mean, I do take pride in that, but at the same time, I think all of us can look back and say, there's a lot of right place, right time here. Like a lot of things fell into place, and I can definitely say that looking back.
agreed.
So moving forward to 2026, how many big money bracket races do you think you're going to try to hit?
That's not going to be a huge emphasis for us next season. As silly as it sounds, well, two things. My boys are pretty into racing, and we got 2 juniors, and I'm kind of to the point. I know that this phase is fairly short lived. I don't want to go to a bunch of races where they can't race. So we're going to do as much racing together as we can. The all indications are, I don't think I'm breaking news, but they haven't officially announced this yet. So our Division 3 up here, Super Quick Series, is going to include some junior dragster racing next year.
Oh.
And this looks like a great idea on paper, and this is the goal. We can go to those races. My wife and I can both race in the Super Quick Series, and the boys can both race in juniors. Now, hit me back up in 6 months and see how I really like running 4 cars at once, right? I mean, we're kind of used to that at home, but this is a little bit bigger level. So that, and I really enjoy. There's a lot that goes along with like the NHRA Lucas Oil classes or maybe even the IHRA stuff on some level that I don't necessarily enjoy. But when you put the helmet on, that type of racing is a lot of fun. And I just want to do more of it. So the little bit that we do like without the juniors, we're going to do some of the NHRA Division 3 stuff. Looking like super comp top dragster. I've got my Vega to run super street. We'll mix things up a little bit, but I just enjoy that type of racing. So that'll probably be the focus more so than the big dollar stuff. That said, I've committed and I have every intention. I want to go to Jed's race. I want to go to World Foot Brake Challenge. It's been several years since I've been there.
Right.
And the $1 million race is like in our backyard at St. Louis. So it's going to be hard to miss that. But short of that, I don't have much necessarily earmarking on the big money scene.
Well, I tell you what, I'm fixing to get to working on my car a little bit more, and hopefully I'll be able to make it up there for the foot brake challenge. Robert's been trying to get me to go for a couple of years now, and
Yeah.
so maybe that'll happen this in 2026. I mean, it's a great event, really is a
It's
great
Yeah, it
event.
is. It'll humble you and sharpen you at the same time. So it has that that effect on you. But I tell you now, here let me ask you a question. Since you have both experience in you've been a Division two stock eliminator champion before, running the Nova. I can't remember who you were partners with the Red Nova. I can't remember. Off the top
Yeah,
of my
Brian
head.
Robinson and I'm a buddy. Yeah.
Brian Robinson. And you were in that for a couple of years. And you were division champ with that. Then you're division champ many times over in Super Gas and Super Comp, both in Division two and other divisions. And then you worked hard all the way up to world champion in both Super Comp and Super Gas. Okay, now what drew you towards the Super Eliminators, and what's the weapon of choice for both Super Gas or Super Comp?
Oh,
That you
that's
that I know it's a broad question, but in your experience.
yeah. No, I love that style of competition, and I think part of it for me is especially Super Comp. I really romanticized from a young age because I'm watching Scotty and Edmund, and that was kind of their platform, their main thing. Same with Tommy Phillips. So I think for me, that class was always like the pinnacle. You know, I mean, that's where the best racers certainly at that time kind of gravitated toward. And like if you win Super Comp, you're the man, right? So
Right,
that
right.
I'd always kind of set on a pedestal. But honestly, kind of what I talked about earlier, like once you strap on the helmet in that type of racing, it's so fun. Like I just love the fact that it's quarter mile with a fixed index. And I know technology's come a long way, and Super Comp and Super Gas are much different than they were 20 years ago.
Right.
But anybody that straps into one of those cars and just tells you, like, I'm about to go 90 with a two, they're full of it. Like, I don't care how good stuff is. Like, none of us really know exactly what we're going, or very rarely. It's unlike an eighth mile bracket race today. Like, you can pretty well dial the good cars to within a few thousandths, right? And I just love the creativity that type of insecurity kind of creates, right? I just think it's more of a chess match on the racetrack. I love the strategy of it. I actually like the fact that it's typically spread out several hours or at times even days, and the challenge of coming into that blind round and thinking about how to strategize that and how to dial for the competition. I like that. And there was a time when I would go to those events and be like, this is so much sitting around. I just want to race. When I'm getting older, like I kind of like the pace. You know what I mean? Like I can do 2, 3 runs a day, and then they're all in the daylight hours. Like I'm an early to bed, early to rise kind of guy. Like it just kind of fits my lifestyle. So I really like that. Now to the ultimate weapon, the tool for the job. I mean, Super Comp, everybody's pretty much working with the same canvas, right? Like it's
Right.
the majority of your competitive cars are 4-link dragsters with the big block, and I do think in Super Comp especially, like everyone tends to think that big speed is an advantage. Like Super Comp's the one where I would say you almost can't even go too fast. Not necessarily because I think it makes my job easier being faster, but everybody in that, like you go bracket racing, and if you're giving up 5 mile an hour, you're like, oh, they're right beside me the whole time. It's not a big deal. In Super Comp, everybody's like, oh my God, he's so fast. Like it's so intimidating. Just and part of that is because it does kind of limit your the ability to be creative. Like you don't want to hold a tenth when you're getting chased, right? And
Right. Right.
sometimes that might be on the table if you're the faster car. So, like I said, with Super Comp, I think the options are pretty limited. Super Gas is where I feel like it's maybe the only, certainly one of the few categories in NHRA competition where you can like legitimately put yourself at an advantage in terms of competition. And I got to live that advantage for several years with my roadsters, like purpose built left-hand steer roadster, open cockpit that you can see. And Charlie Stewart, who built my cars, like it's basically a top sportsman car without a roof. Like they handled phenomenal. The faster you went, the better it worked. And when you consider that a lot of Super Gas is still cars that are more like my Vega, you know, that are kind of back half cars that were adapted to do that, like it's
Right.
a night and day difference. The advantage that you have in like a purpose built super race car. Now you pay for that, like they're expensive, right?
Right.
But man, like there was so many rounds in that car where that car made me look good. So I do think in super gas, to me, that would be the ultimate weapon.
Huh.
Well, you know how you was talking about, the time in between the rounds of qualifying stuff. To me, that makes it more challenging because I mean, you got to break it out. You got to do a lot of math to make sure that you can get there. I mean, it's not easy when it's spread out. Now, when you bracket racing, I mean, the turnaround may be 30 minutes, 25 minutes, and it's easier to calculate your ET. But
And
when
also
it's
even
spread out
from
like
a
that, it makes it kind of challenging.
yeah, even from a mental standpoint, like it's one thing to go make good runs when you're in a rhythm. When things get really spread out like that, it's a challenge, and I think it creates more opportunity for separation between maybe the prepared and the unprepared, the confident and the not so sure. You know what I mean? I think experience can play a big role, and obviously those are things that I think I can capitalize on. Maybe that's part of it. Like I tend to have. I feel like, at least in my mind, I've got a little bit of a leg up in that type of racing, but I like the challenge of it more than anything.
I bet you got a lot of log books.
I got a lot of logbooks, and I won't get rid of them. Like
I got a stack too.
I've got this we moved, right, so you get rid of everything, and I've got this like file folder. It's probably 15 years worth of logbooks. I'm like, what am I ever going to do with these? I won't get rid of them. So they're on the shelf right over there.
And now they got that new technology where you can scan them and put them on a flash drive. You just take the flash drive with you to the track and throw it in a computer and do it
Hook it
that
up.
way.
Like I'm such a I guess it's like the generation that we grew up in. I'm such a paper and pencil, paper and pen kind of guy.
Right.
Like even our weather factor stuff, like whether it's we use Computech stuff or Crew Chief Pro or whatever, like it makes all of that so much easier because it's right there on the screen. Like the formulas are there for you. I am so much more comfortable when I do it all out longhand. I got this scratch sheet of paper that just looks like junk with stuff all over it at the end of the day. Like I just like doing the math and seeing like right there. That's why I think I'm going to run what I'm going to run. So
Right.
yeah, I got to write it down, and I typically keep the logbooks in the cars too because I like to reference it, in the moment. Like so, those are habits that I picked up years ago that I just whether it's right or stubborn, they're probably habits that I'll never break.
Right. Well, it's what you're accustomed to. It's what you're used to. And by you doing it longhand, once again, it gives you a little. I say confidence. You have confidence in what you're doing, but it reaffirms what you're thinking. And,
That's my thing. Yeah. Mhm.
yeah. My dad would look at me. He's like, "What do you do? Why are you figuring this out?" I said, "It just. I feel I know what it did, and I see numbers here, but I just want to affirm it. And and whether
Yeah,
it does or doesn't, it tells me real quick.
Yeah.
And but my
Yeah,
dad's
I'm
always
just-
go ahead.
and just like this, I mean, if I'm in the staging lanes, and you're probably the same way, the logbook's right there, and I am going through it every second that I possibly can, refreshing, seeing what the weather is, seeing what the elevation is, seeing the humidity, looking back at the book before I cross the ready line. And you'll see me every once in a while. I'll jump out and says, "No, it's not going to run this. It's going to end up running that." And that's why it's so important to keep those logbooks of calculating and looking to see what it ran that one day before. The only calculation I don't get to do is go out there and shoot the track with a gun and keep up with that. But I think I can get there pretty dang close. And if I have to, I can always push that other pedal and slow down.
Yeah, and he's got brakes on his, you know what I mean, and give you change. Not mine. It just has a lot of hope and prayer involved with it. But that's a different story.
Yeah, you
That's a
need to
different
get some of
story.
those 13.5-inch rotors going there.
No, we're going to get into that. We're going to start spending your money, Mitchell. But anyway, we won't get into that. But I tell you, this does lead into the next question that we want to ask you. That you are, without a doubt, one of the best online presence of having. You have offer a drag racing program through your business. Okay, this is bracket racing, and your presence is everywhere. Okay, you offer online training, one-on-one. You're really known for that, but it shows with like you said how you like information, you like data, You like processing it and coming up with reasons why. But tell everybody what led you into starting This Is Bracket Racing. I mean,
That's
think about at the time it was to me like a revolutionary concept. There was only one other person I think had something at the time. I think it was Scotty. Scotty had something at one time, But what led you to it?
So that's a funny story too. So a buddy of mine is actually the same gentleman. Blake Allen has played a pretty significant role in my career at various times. He's the man that I bought my Vega from, or traded for my Vega. Blake I raced with a lot growing up. He's out of Oklahoma, and obviously I was growing up in Texas. So it's probably 2006-ish. I'm 25 years old, having some success. That time probably just starting out with that Drag Race Results series, and traveling around and running bracket races at every ho-dunk hillbilly track I could find, right? And having some success. Well, Blake calls and he says, "Hey, did you ever think about doing a driving school?" And I just blew it off. I'm like, man, there is nobody that is going to pay me to listen to me talk about racing. Like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And he's like, I think it could work. I'm like, yeah, I don't think so. And so it's a month or two later, and he calls and hits me up with it again. And I'm like, look, man, I think I could do it, but I just don't think I'm 25 years old. You know what I mean? I can't tell people that are older than I am, been racing longer than I have, how to do it. And he's like, man, I just keep thinking it works. So finally, it's probably the third or fourth time we've had this conversation. He calls and he's like, listen, I've got 12 guys that have paid me. You just got to come teach the school. And at that time, or whatever the number he spouted off, I'm 25 years old trying to race for a living. I'm like, damn, that's a lot of money. Like, I need to figure out how I'm going to do this, right?
Right.
He's got this group signed up. It's at Mocan Dragway. And I drive out there, nervous as all get out. Like, worked for 2 weeks trying to develop some kind of curriculum. Like, how is this all going to work? And nervous as hell because, again, I'm talking with a lot of racers that have raced longer than I have, that are older than I am, and I'm like, man, these people, like, they're going to question what I'm going to say. Like, how is this going to? Like, I don't feel like I can take over a room. And those 2 days were transformational because I guess I realized if you're willing to and actually put some stake in and invest money and spend 2 days, like they want to listen to what you've got to say. And the connection that we had and the way that I watched so many of those drivers literally kind of like grow right in front of my eyes. I'm like, this is an awesome experience. Like, I want to do more of this, you know what I mean? Just instantly. And so that spanned into, we put on several more of those type, in-person schools over the next 2 years. And then I got to thinking like, okay, well, how could I scale this? You know what I mean? And the online deal kind of started at that point. It was really just written columns, and it's evolved over the years and become what it's become. But that's how it all started. It was Blake Allen pushing me, and had he not done all of the legwork and put it all together, it'd have probably never happened because I'd have never convinced myself that we could pull that off. So thanks, Blake.
Okay, but of that first time, okay, of those 12 people, did he keep a percentage? You can be honest now.
Oh yeah. No, he was worth his time. Yeah.
Okay, it was a finder's fee. I got you. Okay. I'm not getting you in trouble with Blake. I just wanted to ask,
No, but I could name off at least half of the people that were in that class. A lot of them I still keep in touch with. Like, it was one of those just moments where you kind of knew in the moment. Like, I don't know that I knew it would set the path for the next 20 years of my life, but I'm like, oh, this is what I want to do. Just like that. And I wouldn't have thought that coming in.
And I imagine from that during that class, actually, you probably took notes for yourself of getting feedback directly from people's like going, "This is what we want," or you know what I mean, however it might be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that continues to this day. I mean, whether it's our online stuff or now most of our live schools are, we call it like Elite Fest or Junior Fest. They're just for our members. But at every one of them, we learn something that's like, oh, this really resonated. And then inevitably you find something like, well, that didn't work. Let's go back to the drawing board. You know what I mean? But every time it's no different than racing. Like, you should learn a little something from every time you go down the track, if not at least every time you go to the track. And what we do with This Is Bracket Racing is very much the same way. A lot of trial and error.
Absolutely.
Now, if someone wanted to be part of it, how much does it cost, and how are they able to do it? to join?
Yeah, so we've got several different programs, and we give like what I always say, if you're on the fence about it at all, or even remotely interested, we've got a ton of free content. Like on the Facebook page, we've got a ton of free content on the website on thisisbracketracing.com, and like the Daily Driver podcast. In a lot of ways, that's instructional stuff as well, and that's all free. Like check that out, and if you like what you hear there, if it kind of whets your appetite, then we've got courses available that are like say 10 to 12 lessons. Most of those on very specific topics. Like we've got a top bulb reaction time course, which it's called Let Go Like a Pro. We've got a finish line course. It's like finish line driving made easy, right? Those are typically 10 or 12 lessons you can take on your own time. You've got access to them forever, and it's like $79. And if you like that, then we've got our elite program, which is like our premier membership community that runs $111 a month. We've got a junior dragster program that's similar community. For the junior kids, I think it's at $99 a month right now. But again, like I say, we've got basically, I'd like to think we've got a little something that could help everyone at various price points, just trying to do what we can to serve racing in general. And then, like I say, at the higher levels, actually become a community.
Because we actually race with Paul Allen. Paul Allen is one of your members. Okay, yep. And now he's two-time track champion. In the past, I don't know if it's been back to back as far as two different tracks. I don't remember. Paul, you'll correct me next time, I'm sure. But he told me when we got mentioning, or actually we were talking about you previously at the track, and he mentioned that why he talked to you, and that's why he wanted to get involved with it, and he said yes, it helped him tremendously immediately. He goes, if you listen and if you put these steps into play, they will help. So I'm giving you some feedback indirectly from him that he absolutely tried it and it worked. So
yeah, no, that's what it's all about, and that's what I mean. Justin and Chris Whitfield, everybody that's involved with us would feel the same way. Like that's the reason that we do it. You know what I mean? Like to hear the stories like that, and especially to see the looks on those racers' faces and to hear their stories in person. Like, oh, this, I committed to this, I did this, and I accomplished it, and to feel like we played a small part of that is pretty cool stuff. Yeah,
that's true. And then the fact that you mentioned Justin just was crowned the Superstock World Champion, correct? How
in
many
the
times?
most dramatic fashion, yeah.
I'm like going, okay, 6. Okay, I couldn't remember if it was 5 or 6 because I mean Jimmy DeFrank is 5. Okay, and I was thinking right, Justin and him were close. So 6 world champions, and he's involved with you as far as is he considered one of the teachers, or is he like or how?
Yeah, he's my co-instructor within This Is Bracket Racing Elite, and then within our junior dragster program, it's actually Justin, myself, and Chris Whitfield that kind of head that up. So.
Okay, and you've had others. So we've heard so many on the through talks and interviews and Q&As and stuff like that. A lot of drivers, so a lot of good information for sure.
Justin's gift, like for as phenomenal a racer he is, and as good a job as he does explaining what he does in the race car, the biggest thing that he brings to the table within Elite is his technical acumen. When it comes to tuning a race car, that man is a genius, especially with today's technology and data acquisition and things of that nature. Like he has taught me so much, and he just has this uncanny knack to break down what I think are really complex ideas in a way that people like me can understand, right? And it's really impressive. Like I say, for all the things that he brings to the table, that's probably what knocks my socks off the most.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
okay.
One of the things I think it's very important that you have that junior dragster class, and I think it's very important for those kids to go through that because kids are very easily distracted, and I think that will teach them on-track discipline for going through that.
Yeah, that's our newest program. We're almost 3 years into it now. I don't think we had any idea of how much work it would be going in, like at what we were getting into, and it's taught us so much. I mean, for the most part, the material is the same, like that I would share with you guys as I would share with a 12-year-old. You got to come up with a little bit different way to present it, right? Right. And I think the biggest thing is making it fun and earning the kids' trust. And like I say, we've come a long way in that regard. But like I said, I don't think that necessarily has gone exactly the way we would have scripted coming in, but it's been way better, like in terms of what we've been able to get from it. And you talk about like the pride in watching somebody like Paul have
Oh,
success.
yeah.
Like take that to a 14-year-old. I mean, I always come back to one of the girls in our group. She's older now. She's a year or so from aging out, and she had some success when she came to us, and she is all in, right? I mean, just every call that we have, every challenge that we put in front of her. I mean, she is very invested. But how far she's come in the 2 or 3 years since joining our community, and now she's like multi-time track champion, one of the best junior racers in the country, and it's just so cool to see, just from a personal standpoint, like racing for me, starting in juniors and then as I was younger, some of the stories that we told earlier, racing was, I always felt like I was, like it seemed unique to me at the time growing up, but I was struggled to figure out where I fit in. Like I was good at anything. And now as I grow up, I feel like that's kind of universal. Like I think we all kind of deal with that in our younger years, but it seems so personal.
Right.
Well, racing was the thing that kind of gave me an identity, right? That I was able to build some confidence in, and it spilled over into other parts of my life. So to be able to see, especially kids, kind of build that up in a similar way and it blossom into other areas of their life, like that to me is really what it's all about.
Well, probably some of the lessons that y'all teach just doesn't teach them on the track. It teaches them away from the track as well.
Yeah, I mean, especially with kids, you can't come right out and approach it like that, right? But
Right.
I very much look at racing in a lot of ways as a microcosm for life.
Right.
And that's definitely intertwined in a lot of the things that we try to do.
Yeah. Well,
Now, how many marketing partners do y'all have that is part of y'all's program and also that supports you while you're racing?
So within Elite, we kind of keep everything separate, right? Like I don't ever want to feel salesy. Like obviously we've got Justin and I both, we've got the manufacturers that we depend on. And so when that comes up in conversation, we'll advocate for it, but we're really careful of, like, hey, there's a lot of good transmission builders out there. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to necessarily impact buying decisions of the people that are coming to us for advice.
Right.
But on the racing side, obviously, Moser Engineering's been huge for us. We've been a part of their program on some level for like 2 decades, and now within the last, I guess 4 or 5 years, really ramped up our involvement and had the opportunity to represent them as our major marketing partner. That's been a treat, like to even kind of feel like part of the family at this point. Like it's an awesome group, the Moser family, and the business that they've created. I mean, they're creating all of this stuff, manufacturing it in-house in the USA, in Portland, Indiana, and to go be there and be part of the facility and meet the people behind the scenes. It's really special. So I couldn't be more proud to represent them. And then obviously we've got a ton of marketing partners that help out along the way, and most of them same way. Like they're manufacturers of equipment that we've depended on for 10 and in a lot of cases 20 years. I was actually just this week I was down at BTE talking with Brandon, and I started dealing with his grandfather, Bill Taylor himself, in like 1998, and I haven't run anything else since. You know what I mean? So those relationships are really what it's all about.
Absolutely. And you've been involved with it because I remember seeing it for years. I remember when I first noticed your Vega, like I said, Vega fan. Okay, and you had BTE on the quarter panel, and you had Moser on the quarter panel. Now, before we go into other questions that we want to, but this is bracket racing, but I've got to get back to the Vega. Okay, the history of the Vega, because I absolutely have loved this car. And when you did the revamp of it, it was jaw dropping. But I want to go back, and I think I read somewhere, wasn't it one time, was it originally a Pro Stock car originally?
It was not. It was it was built by the man that built all the Pro Stock cars back in that day. It's a Don Hardy car, but the tag on it is 74 Vega modified. So and the story that I've heard was it was built to run modified eliminator. Blake actually gave me like a history on the car when I bought it, and I should dig it up. But its history is pretty impressive because it actually has won national events in NHRA, IHRA, and AHRA. in
AHRA?
AHRA. Yeah, I mean it's been a race car since '74,
Okay,
almost
okay.
with the exception of the 2.5 years that I stripped it down to nothing. Continuous duty basically since 1974, and it's won national events in modified, 1090, 990, and some crazy bastard at some point won an 890 national event in that thing. So kudos to that guy.
You're kidding.
No,
Okay, that's crazy. Okay, that one I didn't see coming. Okay, other things, but I didn't see a super comp coming out of that. But okay, but please continue. There you go.
Yeah, so when I got the car from Blake, and I actually traded, I'd won a dragster at I think it was like a weekend points championship at Montgomery years ago. And it was a really nice Miller car, but the powder coat on it was hideous. Like it was this like sparkle brown. I mean, it was god awful. And I'm like, who's going to buy this thing? You know what I mean? And so Blake calls. I had advertised it for a while because I didn't really need it. And Blake calls and he's like, "Hey, would you trade that for a Vega?" And I'm like, "What do I need a Vega for?" Like, I don't know. No, I don't think so, right? And then I thought about it for a while, and I'm like, "Well, what kind of deal could we work out?" So I ended up trading this car, and I think it was like $2,500 for my Vega turnkey. And at that time, it was yellow, blue, and red. Like all it was missing was the golden arches for the McDonald's sponsorship. It was pretty hideous, right? And I'm pretty sure it was just spray painted. Like you could catch your nail on the color transition, right?
Okay.
And but it was running, and I'd met him somewhere in Arkansas and made the swap and drove to Hattiesburg, Mississippi. And that night, because it was turnkey, I won a $2,500 race in it. The first time I sat in it. And I'm like, this thing's paid for. Awesome, right? And it was, so at that point, I still had, I don't know if you guys remember, I had a 76 Nova that was red, white, and blue that I ran in all the foot brake classes. And I'm like, well, I'll run this Vega for a little bit, and I probably won't like it more than my Nova, but I'll sell one of them, right? And after that first weekend, I'm like, all right, Nova's for sale. I like this thing. And so it was a year or two in. I'm like, well, I can't make this thing look any worse. So I literally sat in my driveway when I lived in Alabama with Dawn and Scotch-Brite and sanded that thing down and spray painted it flat black.
Been there, done that.
Showed the picture. Well, it was not in the greatest shape when I got it, but those, I guess, close to 10 years that I had it before I redid it, I did not do it any favors, right? I mean, it's flat black. At one point we had stacked a third battery in the back, and I just like ratchet strapped it to something to try to, I think I was trying to keep it from going faster than 640 so that we didn't have to wear all the stuff. Well, the ratchet strap came loose and knocked the taillight out. So the taillight's duct taped in. The door had caught the fender, tore the fender all up, the front fender. So the fender's duct taped. Like there's duct tape and wire ties holding it together. For several years when I was touring the country, I had a trailer that the dragster I'd back in and pull the peg in. Well, they didn't really fit. So literally, like I would back the dragster and hoist it up, and I'd just drive the Vega until it stopped because it hit the dragster. And so the Vega kind of acted as a chassis support because that's the only way it would all fit. So the roofs caved in on the Vega from where the dragster rode. I mean, it was god awful, right? It was always a great car, right? It was always a lot of fun. I always won in it. And so finally I decided, I'm going to keep this thing forever. I might as well make it what I want. Now, when I originally tore it all down, I didn't quite envision what it became. I think really the catalyst for that, I took it to my buddy, Sean Johnston, who at the time lived about an hour north of us, and he had a paint shop. His specialty was like custom motorcycles. And I'm like, hey, can you paint this? Yeah. Well, his idea of paint for a race car and my idea of paint for a race car were not in the same realm.
I know where you're going with that.
Yeah, I mean, he just took this project and made it his own, and it was amazing by the time that he got done. Well, that just elevated the whole program because now everything had to live up to the freaking paint job, right? So it couldn't just get the aluminum tubs put back in it. It got carbon tubs. It was just one thing after another. Everything's got to live up to this. So I ended up, with one of the nicest Vegas I've ever seen, and I love it. I wouldn't do anything different, but it's not what I envisioned coming in. Like I wanted a pretty nice race car, and I feel like I got a show car that I'm kind of afraid to race at times, but I do love it. It's my baby. So.
So you're saying the project steamrolled? Is that what you're trying to
Yes,
say?
it got out of hand quickly.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, it's just a little touch up. I got you. I know how those go. Yeah, yeah. My father did. Well, actually, my father and I on several cars done over the years. Yeah, just like I just want to clean it up to turn it. No, no. Next thing you know, it's frame off and all this kind of stuff. You're like, oh.
Yeah,
So,
my main deal, I wanted to have roll up and down windows, so I put steel doors on it. I wanted the factory hatch, so it had fiberglass, hatch on it. So I put that with the hinges and extenders on it where it come up on its own, and yeah. But like I say, it ends up like full interior and stereo, and I mean it's awesome. But
mufflers and all that stuff.
yeah, it's
Now you see now you just said something. Now, didn't that make it a little nicer for you as the driver to have the hatch that you don't have to worry about a Zeus tool opening and taking it off, and you just click, and the same thing, roll the windows down after a run, get a little fresh air in there, or vice versa. So you see, you hear everybody, just keep things simple.
It's everything I wanted, and like I say, that when I die, they'll bury me with that thing. If my boys probably won't have that. My 7-year-old is already saying that's going to be my car. I'm like, we might have to have a talk about that. I really like my Vega. But yeah, I'm actually, one way or another, it'll stay in the family.
You know, Mama's gonna say, "Hey, Luke," and you're gonna be like, "Okay," you know what I mean?
I
let's just
promise
face it.
you, like I can see it already. I have a hard time telling either of them no, but especially the young one.
Working on it.
Oh yeah, he's hard headed, and he's all about racing, which is a ton of fun for me. But yeah, so he's got me. I'm already wrapped around his finger.
Honesty, you gotta love honesty. Now, I was gonna ask you a question as far as advice for racers out there. Now, let's say a racer is in a funk. Okay, whether it be on a starting line or whether it be finish line. Okay, is there any advice or suggestions you can give to somebody to help them focus to get back on track?
Yeah, take Luke's class.
Other than the obvious.
I think by and large across the board, we know what's supposed to happen, right? We know what we need to do. And when we get in a slump, it's so easy for that slump to snowball because we start thinking about all of the things that we do wrong, right? It becomes very much like a self-induced struggle. And so my advice is oversimplified as it sounds. And what I try to do, what I find really helps me, is you've got to find a way to make it fun again, or remind yourself that it's fun, and just take a little bit of that edge off. Because when we go to the starting line and it's like, God, I don't want to be 40 again. Like I got to press. And like I read something one time, it's like, try softer. When in those instances, when I can find a way to kind of make myself laugh, typically at myself, right? Like, you're taking this way too seriously. Like that's when it just takes enough of that edge off that I can get back to doing what I know how to do, but I've convinced myself that I can't. Right. And I think that's pretty universal.
Okay, and that would hold true whether it be the starting line or finish line. It'd be the same.
Yeah,
approach,
I think so.
Correct?
The finish line, I think, because it happens so much more quickly and there's a little bit less time to think about it. Like I think it's a lot easier to get in your head about the starting line. The finish line, when we struggle, I think a lot of it is probably similar in that we get, like, say that we're making mistakes against faster cars and we get paired up with a faster car and you're like, oh, you've got this sense of dread, like here it comes again.
Right.
At the finish line, I think there's more opportunity to just change strategies, right? Like in either direction. Like I keep messing up the finish line. Like I'm just going to dial honest for a few runs until I can maybe see it, or maybe it changes my luck or what have you, or the opposite. Like, hey, what I'm doing is not working. Like I'm going to dial up and hold a ton. Like I'm not doing a good job anyway, right? And just enough to kind of change the mindset. And in a lot of cases, I find like if I do something way out of my comfort zone, like it probably decreases my chances of winning. But there's something freeing mentally to kind of being the underdog. And I think we have a tendency sometimes to outperform our expectations, and then that can start confidence back up. So specific to the finish line, I would say like just flip things around and do something completely different. And sometimes that can be the catalyst for getting back on track.
Yeah, like screw up your competitor by just barely touching the brake pedal. to turn the lights on
but
the
not
rear end,
but
and
not
they're
slow
thinking
down.
that you're really slowing down, and you're not.
I got a funny story around that too. So back in the days, like I said, 16, 17-year-old racing stock eliminator, we were at a division race and pretty late in the race, like quarterfinals. I'm paired up with Edmund Richardson, who, I mean, to this day is like I would count among my heroes, right? But especially at 16 years old, like he's super intimidating. He's the man. Well, he's holding a year, right? So he comes by me really early and he's pacing me. And I like went to drop. And honestly, like I can tell you guys in the world, I just screwed up, right? I went to drop, look forward, it's like, oh, that's way too early. And I just stood back on the gas instinctively. Well, keep in mind, like I'm in a stock eliminator car with 2 foot of front end travel, right? So
Right.
when I go for the brake, like the front end dives and Edmund's waiting on it, like he goes on the brake to go with me. Well, then I get back around him when I got back on the gas and he comes up like I'm a hero, like I did it all on purpose. And I'm not going to tell him otherwise. I'm like, yeah, that was awesome, right? And in my mind, I'm thinking, I just got so lucky.
If he only knew, you know. I've literally had that. I was picking up a much faster car, Jason Rollins, and I mean, you know, I'm running mid to high sevens to his mid fives, or high fives. Anyway, I'm looking there and looking, and I turn around and I see the cone, and I'm thinking I'm in the box. And I'm like going, okay, he's not getting there. Boom, and I drop it, and that's when I look up and I see the other cone.
There's another cone up there.
There's another cone. Get back on it, and I'm just sitting there staring ahead, and he went by there coasting, and that's the only time that I ever got him bad on the tree. So I had him covered on the tree, and he came right up to me. He goes, "What was that all about?" I said, "That was a screw up. You're welcome." You know, it was on a platter for everybody to see and for you. And he's like going, "Okay," and, you know, it's kind of like our secret for a round, you know, that kind of deal. So, but you know, it happens. It happens. That's the biggest thing. And especially driving him. I mean, that man was the master of dropping a front end. Just him and Scotty. I'm like going, I don't know how there was any paint on the cross members. I really, really, really don't know how. And I don't know how in the world they could see that kind of window with, especially when Scotty ran the convertible, when they ran the 69 convertible.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Same thing, being one of the slower J cars.
Mm-hmm.
in the category running against all the others. I'm like going, how can you hold so much? But that's just the technique that they worked on. So you've explained, because we were going to ask you like what motivates you, okay? But you've already mentioned that what motivates you on this is bracket racing is seeing people's success,
Right.
And so that's really a good thing. Is you enjoy winning. You're very, very competitive, but you enjoy seeing everybody succeed and asking questions and getting something out of what y'all are teaching. So that's now I get ready to say I really appreciate that from somebody that just as a sportsman racer and admiring your hard work and stuff that y'all do. So, but what do you do in the off season? Actually, what do you do during the week to prepare yourself or maintain yourself? And then what do you do in the off season to try to prepare yourself mentally and physically?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, we think of, this is Bracket Racing Elite as like that's a service to the members. It's really good for me. You know what I mean? Like our members challenge me and Justin as well, kind of day in and day out, and just kind of keeping those things at the front of mind. I think that alone goes a long way. I've got, I alluded to it earlier, and I really don't change it much during the off season. We, as part of Elite and this is Bracket Racing Junior, our off season regimen is heavy on like live practice challenges and get involved with that with the member. We spend a lot more time probably on the practice tree, but my daily routine, it's part of what I do every morning when I wake up. I go through a routine. It probably takes me like 20 minutes. I do a little bit of reading. I do some push-ups to get my blood flowing. And I grab the practice tree. I make 5 hits on the top and 5 hits on the bottom, like every day. And I do that at the racetrack. And I would say if this is 365 days in a year, like I'm not super disciplined, but I bet I did it 350 days out of the last calendar year. Right. It's just my routine, and so that I think kind of maintains for me. But like I say, from a mental standpoint, I listen to I listen to a lot of podcasts. I listen to one podcast. It's called Finding Mastery. That it's hosted by he calls himself a high performance psychologist, but mostly in sports psychology. And I just find it fascinating, and so much of it applies. And I enjoy reading along those lines too. Like elite members will tell you in a minute. My favorite book of all time is a book called How Champions Think by a gentleman by the name of Bob Rotella. He's a sports psychologist as well, and he made his living in golf. And it's amazing the correlation between what we do in golf. Like it's a individual sport. You're standing over a putt. It's pretty similar to staging up on the tree. You know, I mean, it's all on you, and it's repetitive motions that you have to do very very consistently. So a lot of the mental gymnastics I found correlate directly. I think I've read that book like 6 times. But things like that, I do think from more certainly at this point in the career, but I think it's the same for all of us. Like once the fundamentals of our game are not all that difficult to grasp. You know, I mean, I think we can all sit back and say, okay, this is what's supposed to happen and why. I think at that point, once we grasp that, which probably 90% of the field does, I think the differentiator is all between the ears, and it's just finding a way to have that confidence and bring that sense of like optimism, if you would, to the starting line. And so I feel like I work on that a fair amount.
Yeah, that's I was going to say that's good advice. That's really, really good advice on how you work through these things and how you help focus on these things. Because I mean, I struggle. Okay, there for a while. I mean, I was in a routine and things were flowing real good. But I've allowed life to get in the way. But life gets in the way of some things, and and I got to get back on it, and I want to, because I'm like anybody else. I'm competitive, and I want to do the best I can with what I have. But what advice do you give if somebody's starting out? Let's just say, okay, and let's say they're foot braking sportsman class or something like that, and of course, as anything, from the opening gun, we want to win. We want to do everything we want to do. And, and it's kind of like, how high is high? It's such a broad question. But what advice would you give to somebody to help them start getting on that right road to success?
Right.
So I think the kind of obvious advice is like to race and compete as much as you can, or as much as you want to, and as much as your resources will allow, right? Mm-hmm. But I think even more importantly than that is really taking the time to analyze and try to learn something from every run that you take down the racetrack, right? And to not, like, I think it's really easy. I talk about this a lot recently, inside and outside of elite. Like, I think we all fall victim to it. I think it's really easy to be super outcome dependent in our analysis. It's like not just I won, I did well, or I lost, I screwed up, but even to the point of like, okay, well, I broke out, so I should have lifted, or I gave it back, so I shouldn't have lifted. Well, think back, like coming into the run, like, did you think you could go under? Like if you thought you might be able to go under and you thought you were ahead, then it wasn't a mistake to lift, right? And if you didn't think you can go under and you thought it was close, then it probably wasn't a mistake to hold it on the floor, right? Right. I think the outcome can really jade our perception of what we did right or wrong. I think it's more instructive to go back to the incoming strategy. Okay, based on what you knew coming in, did you make the right decision? Did you perform to your expectations? And looking at it through that lens, I think is a lot more instructive as to what we can take away going forward. Because it's really easy to just assume like, oh, I lost, I screwed up, when you might have made the right decision. And then next time you're in that spot, you're not going to do the same thing because that didn't work last time, right? And then that's when I think we really get in this kind of vicious cycle of making the wrong decision or making the right decision for the wrong reason or what have you, and not really getting any better. I think the ability to take both of those things at one time and provide a little bit more accurate assessment of what just happened, I think that's really vital.
That totally makes sense. That's really good advice, because what I try to think about is like going, okay, what did I do right and what did I do wrong, and what did I see? You know what I mean? And if what I think I saw does not match on that ticket, I did it wrong. Clearly I did it wrong, or I didn't see it right, that kind of thing. So yeah, I got a slow car, so I have a lot of work to do, to do that. Mitchell too. Go ahead.
I
I think I'd
think,
always
oh,
been
sorry, go
pretty.
ahead.
I'm sorry, Mitchell.
You're good.
I think I'd always kind of had. I don't know if it's a gift necessarily. Like I feel like I could always replay runs in my mind pretty vividly and think back like this is what I saw that triggered this decision. You know, especially when we're talking finish line decisions.
Right.
Nowadays, it's like such a great tool. The guys that have the resources to put like a GoPro or something like that in the car, because it just
Yes.
you don't have to depend on that vivid imagery. You know what I mean? You can kind of relive it. And a lot of that stuff, when I watch it, I don't feel quite like I feel in the car. But like today's technology, there's stuff available. It's like, wow, that looks exactly like what's on the racetrack. And I think tapping into some of those resources could be really helpful, especially for those, starting out.
Right, and that's actually a really good point. Mitchell and I ran each other last year at an event, and I put a camera in his car aiming at me, and vice versa. Okay, so when we made the run, and it was very, very tight at the finish line. Okay, and I was fortunate to come out on a better end of a double breakout. Okay, but it was really, hey, Mitchell, it's true. It was tight. Okay, it was tight. But what I thought I saw, I told Mitchell, I said, I thought I saw this. I went back and looked at it, and no, I was wrong. And I'm like going, okay, I got to work better on it. You did a better job on this end, and I did a better job on that end. That's how it worked out. But you're absolutely right about the GoPro. I look at it as you can learn something from anything, and try to learn something from any pass or any type of.
And I even like obviously I'm kind of a racing fiend, period. But I love watching other people's in-car footage.
Yes.
You know what I mean, like,
Yes.
I feel like I take something away from that just about every time. And I kind of, I guess not came up, but I remember, before in-car footage was cool. Well, I mean, one of my heroes growing up was Jeff Heffler.
Yeah.
Jeff did a series of YouTube stuff, but like before it was really popular. I mean, we're talking 10, 15 years ago.
Right.
And
That's when he had his Nova, right? He had his Nova, right?
But for most of it wasn't. He had a altered at one point too, but he'd give the commentary in the helmet, and he's just so calm. And I couldn't get enough of him. I could watch him for hours. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was always. I remember like vividly. He's sitting in his Nova, and of course it's at Kennedale, right? So that brings back memories for me. That Texas Raceway, and he's about to start the car at the ready line, and he's like, "Well, I don't really know what I can run here, so I'm a little bit handcuffed. But when I'm in those situations, I find it's a lot easier if you clip the tree. So I'm going to try to clip the tree, right?" And I'm like, "Clip the tree, okay." And then he's silent up there through the burnout process and everything else, and he stages, and it's foot braking, and he hits it, and I mean it's midair, and he's like, "Well, I clipped it."
Now you see, I like watching him because he was the only person I ever saw that had a trans brake trigger that was on a cable, on a cord.
Yeah.
And Mitchell, he would hang on to it and then chuck it. Okay, so boom, when he let it go, then he would chuck it, and he would always grunt before he would stage. And I mean, he'd let out a big old grunt, and that was his motivation. And I'm like going, oh my goodness! But you're right. Something I enjoy watching in car, like we all do, is I would like to see more foot brake in car.
Yeah.
It's like mine's a foot brake, so everything I got is obviously slow foot brake. Which a lot of the online stuff that you see is like Gelstar and all that stuff like that, and they got the dragsters. Okay, and I'm like going, a 450 dragster an eighth mile, that's not a long video. You know what I mean? It's really not, But if you put it in a Buick Roadmaster wagon and run a Sportsman against, somebody running a mid 12, I mean, you're going to get some kind of action. You're going to see it. So I'm in agreement with you. So you're a big fan of data collecting, clearly.
Yeah, and I think another thing that's very important for someone that's young coming into the sport, learning how to cut the tree, is if they go up there and they're, say, 009 red, 007, but their reaction times are pretty close, it's not time for them to change themselves. They need to play with tire pressure with the front tires.
Or something.
Maybe they need to shallow stage a little bit more to make up that difference instead of, well, I think I'm going to let go of the brake a little quicker or a little later. Well, that'll get you in big trouble. So you'll be one something.
One of the biggest misconceptions we found when we started working with the juniors, because like the whole key, like you said, is just string together consistent lights. When my kid goes up, there's 20 red. I'm like, go do it again. Right. And don't ever try to change you as the driver. Because like you said, what I always say, Mitchell, is like my mental delay box, it doesn't work in thousandths of a second. Like it's multiple hundreds. You know what I mean? If I tell myself to back off from 10 thou red, it's not going to be 10 thou green. It's going to be like 50 or worse. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but if I can go hit the same spot and you can find some way to mechanically slow the car down, you know, whether like you say that staging or tire pressure or different size tire or launch RPM, you know, depending on the car, you could have a ton of different options. But that's one of the things we harp to our junior dragster drivers and crew chiefs, you know, parents too. Like, okay, let you just want consistency. Once you get there, we'll figure out a way to make the car react to make those consistent lights competitive. But right now, just go do the same thing every time. And like I say, that's definitely one of the biggest misconceptions probably across the board. And you're 100% right, Mitchell. Just
Right.
go do the same thing.
And I'm going to have to do that again because I'm fixing to change the whole tire setup on the car. It's going to be smaller tires on there, and I've got to play around and I've got to find that sweet spot. So
Yep.
I'm going to have to hit a bunch of tests and tunes as soon as I get the combos switched around.
Mhm.
And like I said, be the same, but just change the car.
Right.
That's true. Now, I'd like to see a good challenge between and pick you and Peter and Jed and Michael Beard and I mean everybody. Okay, I would like to see y'all with a fun challenge amongst yourselves, do videos and stuff, and all of y'all have slow street cars. Okay, all of y'all, and do quarter mile, full tree, and y'all do it for like weekend. Go to travel different places. You know, do it for weekend. But each time y'all have a class on it. Okay, and show from the beginning of it to the end of the race what you learned and what you did different. Okay, because I think that would help a lot of people that have slower cars like Mitchell and I. Okay, instead of instead of losing track and like you said, trying to find a different spot on the tree mentally, which you never do, you change your car. And doing that as an example, I think I would personally absolutely love that because I think that is so much information there that's available to people like us from people like you.
So the promoter in me, you know, years ago, you know, Scotty may rest in peace. Like the debate was always, is it Scotty Richardson or is it Peter Biondo, right? And I was like, how cool would it be? And in today's world, you could probably pull this off, like with the live feed or something. You guys have the mind to probably fund something like this. But I always thought it'd be the coolest thing. I'm like, what if we got, you know, in this case of Scotty and Peter together, and we got them like similarly prepared dragsters and similarly prepared door cars, and then similarly prepared bottom bulb cars, and then we got two rental cars, right? And they basically had to run like best of five in all these facets head to head and see who's actually better. You know what I mean? Like, so let's settle it this way.
Yes.
I think that'd be so cool to watch.
That would.
And especially if you could get their commentary, kind of like you're saying, like, this is what I do different in this car. You know what I mean? Like, that could be really cool.
Exactly, because you remember when, whenever Jed one time he went out to Vegas running Peter's race, and I can't remember, he was running an open cockpit MG. I don't remember. Somebody had a loaner.
Yeah.
And somebody had a loaner and put him in there, and you know, and he's talking the whole time. You know what I mean? I don't know how I got away with that one and all this stuff like that. And Jed being Jed, you know, I was like going, okay. But one time it was him. It was Peter and somebody else. And it might have been Jed. And I can't remember. And they were doing it for fun. And they took off and somebody was red. Boom. They slowed down. They backed up. And they did it again until they were both green. And I'm like going, oh my goodness, this is so fun to watch. Everybody was just losing it, hanging off the fences and all this stuff. And you're right. That's the kind of that's some really good information there. That's still a big nugget of info that I think a lot of people would like to tap into.
Yeah.
So, well, maybe we can work together and do something sometime.
Cool.
That would be fun. But I tell you, once again, tell everybody how they can get a hold of you and how they can get involved with This Is Bracket Racing. Where can they find you?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, our hub is on the website, thisisbracketracing.com. You can find us on Facebook. We've got a This Is Bracket Racing page. We've got a This Is Bracket Racing Junior page. And then, honestly, at this point, the bulk of what I'm doing on Facebook is on the Luke Bogacki Motorsports page, where you can kind of keep up with our racing as well.
Oh, my goodness. So do you have T-shirts and hats And
We've
secrecy of
got.
all
So
that.
I actually had a request for shirts the other day. We haven't had like team shirts, racing shirts in several years for whatever reason. We've got our elite stuff, but that's about the only apparel that we've got. That this is bracket racing. So
Okay. Okay. Well, Mitchell and I will work on that.
we were actually we were on a meeting yesterday with our This Is Bracket Racing team, and the big topic of discussion was merchandising. So we might have some apparel coming soon.
I got a question. Are you going to go to PRI this year?
It's a good question. I'm on the fence. I had the guys at Mosier get me a credential, and that's as far as I've gotten. So I've got a couple of good reasons to go, but it'd probably just be a day in, day out if I go at all. I'd say maybe just show up Friday and back home. It's only 4 hours from here, so I could be down and back in one day.
Yeah, we're going to fly up there. We're going to leave Thursday morning at 5. And
Oh, wow.
we're at the airport about. I think we're supposed to get there about 9:28, and we're
Okay.
going straight from the airport to the convention center.
Cool.
Well, we're all working too, so we can't get all the extra time off. So
Yeah, right. We got to squeeze it in while we can.
Yeah, exactly. It's all that is. But I tell you what, Luke, I could sit here. We all could sit here and just want to pick your brain on advice from everything from, as you were talking about, starting line, finish line, car selections, and all this different things. But tell you, we encourage everybody to go to thisisbracketracing.com, to follow you on both Facebook, to get involved with you. Mitchell and I are definitely going to get involved with your program. We've seen the results of it, and talking to you just reaffirmed it. So, and we want to tell you, Luke, thank you very much for coming on tonight. Congratulations again on your success and your recent wins in IHRA and NHRA and local track. There you go. And hopefully this year we'll be able to see you up at Bristol at Jed's race.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to getting my teeth kicked in for it's 5 days this year, right?
I think so. Oh, that's right. Oh gosh, another day off
they're going to
work.
beat the snot out of me, but it's going to be fun. So
I don't want to hear it. They run over each other getting to me in the lanes. I don't want to hear it. So I don't. I mean, they do. It's like, man, I'm sorry, you bent yourself up trying to get to me. I don't know what to tell you. So but anyway, but in all seriousness, thank you very much, buddy, for stopping in tonight on.
Really do appreciate it.
Yes,
absolutely. Thank you guys. Thank you for having me. This has been fun.
Absolutely, Luke, and you have a good night, buddy.
Thanks, y'all too.
All right, take care.
All right, you too. Take care.
Bye.
I'll tell you what, a lot of great information there, really is, and I'll tell you what, I really enjoyed it when he was doing some stuff online, teaching about reaction times. It was really great stuff, and it really had helped me a lot to prepare to do better. And I can tell, Robert, when I go to the starting line, I can tell just by knowing me if it's going to be a okay light or it's going to be a great light, because I can feel the differences in the focusing.
Mm-hmm.
And I just got to learn how to go up there with the same exact focus every time and hold on to it and grasp it.
Yeah, no, Mitchell, I got to give you credit, buddy. Consistently, definitely this year, you have been very, very consistent on the tree, and it showed. Okay,
every once in a while I goof up, but that happens.
No, you look at your average, okay, and it's really good. And mine, I got to work on. At some nights, I have some fairly good average, but I've had too much up and down, and that's on me. I got to work on it, but. Like I said, when we run against people in the sportsman class like Bart and Dan and Monica and you and Chris and Kevin and stuff like that, they're always on. Okay,
oh, yeah.
so and that's just in sportsman. Of course, you go over to pro and super pro and the bikes and juniors, and it's like that. And that's what makes people better. That's what makes us all better. We all want to get better.
And that's like before we even started the show, me and Luke was talking in the behind the scenes, and I told him, I says, man, it's we run sportsmen and it's tough over there. I said, one night, I says, you had 8 drivers that had double O lights.
Mm-hmm.
8. I
Yep.
mean, it's just plumb ridiculous. It is cutthroat.
I mean, hey,
Really,
that night you and I ran. Okay, we got down to that was at what? Was that at 6 cars or
I
four
th-
cars?
6 cars or 4 cars.
I can't remember which, but the round before that we were laddered up, and I was thinking, yeah, yeah, you're right, Derek. You're right. Luke drops a lot of little nuggets of wisdom and different things in his talk. You're absolutely right about that. But no. I thought I had a good chance of possibly earning a buy run in one of the going into that because I had a 004, and I'm like, oh well, the best light I've had for the night. So they go, well, I think I'd like to hope I have a chance to get a buy run. Nah, Kevin Roberts trips it.
Yep.
And and Kevin being Kevin, he just like no, he just kind of shrugged it off, and I'm like going, oh boy, And then you said you had like a 009, and Bart had like a 10 at worst or something like that. I mean, it was crazy.
It's definitely killer over there. I mean, it's killer in every classic.
It is, and that's what makes it fun. That's what makes it fun.
If it was easy, everybody would be coming out there doing it.
Oh, I know.
And I'll tell you someone else that just popped on here, Derek Putnam. Tell you what, you better be on your game.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah, even
He'll be waving at you.
Even as he
down
said,
there on top end.
That's true. I mean, he always jokes and kids, but even on his worst day, is an excellent run. So no, Derek's an excellent driver and an excellent announcer for Sick the Mag and other events. He is our consideration one of the best down here. Of course, James Thompson, excellent on the microphone. Mitchell, you're not bad yourself.
I don't. I just fill in if I have to.
Right, I got you. But
I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just holding the mic.
I'm gonna leave that joke alone. Okay. Yeah, that's kind of low hanging fruit. I'm just gonna leave that one alone. But in all seriousness, everybody, we want to tell everybody thank you very much for joining us tonight on the Spots Motorsports Media. We encourage you that this interview will be uploaded onto YouTube.
It's already on there right now.
Okay. I usually on my end, it usually takes a slight delay, but then I'll get it uploaded on the Spotify within the next day or two, along with the other interviews that we've done. So we encourage you to please go there and follow us on our YouTube page and Facebook. We're working hard for our YouTube page to grow, and it's gradually growing thanks to you. But we still need it to grow even more, to increase more. So we encourage you to follow us over on those pages. We also encourage you to go to those that work with us and other races, which include Scorpion Racing Products, and also for Redline Synthetic Oil. We not only use their product, but they work with us. And we thank you to everybody who has stuck with us this year, who's called in, given us suggestions, feedback, people we should reach out to, contact, and we thank you for it.
And I tell you what, I just want to let everybody know we're not going to do a show next Thursday. We're going to reserve that for our families and for yours. Yes. We have a lot of stuff to be thankful for this year.
Amen to that.
And we're hoping those things continue growing in 2026. And I tell you, please tune into our page. Me and Robert's going to be very busy on the floor at PRI.
Yes.
We're going to try to hit as many people as we can. Some of those interviews will be me and Robert together. Other videos will be with us with just other people as we try to split up the room a little bit. And I tell you, we already got some people already lined up. Mark Beatty, Redline Oil. Zach Collins with Scorpion Racing Products. Ben Devenow with Big Stuff.
Jason Bruce with Blue
Jason
Line.
Bruce with
Blueprint.
Blueprint.
Blue Line. I don't know where that came from.
With Blueprint. And I'm going to reach out and try to see if we can set up with Milling Performance. Mm-hmm. I think it'd be really great to get by and see them. And like I said, we'll make contacts on the floor, and if they can do it then or schedule for us to come back, we're going to try to provide as much coverage as possible. And mentioning that, go to the Drag Illustrated 30 Under 30 presentation and we're going to record that. If that's okay with West Buck, we're going to record it and put it on the page for y'all. It's a really great opportunity for the young people in the sport.
Absolutely, you're absolutely right. And if somebody would like us to reach out to a particular company at the PRI, something we're not familiar with, please reach out to us. Let us know, and especially if you have a name of somebody. It doesn't matter what the sport, the motorsports might be. Circle track, dirt track, mud bog, tractor pulling, drag racing, does not
They
matter.
got everything there.
They have everything there. If somebody you would like us to reach out to, possibly even do a quick interview with, please just let us know. Give us a contact name or even their cell number so we can reach out to them and start a contact like that. We would really enjoy that. But right now, yes. And Mitchell, I had another one today. So I don't know if I mentioned to you earlier, but I'll talk to you later about it. But I have another one today that we're scheduled to go and talk to them at the PRI and see some of their new products and do another interview with another company. But also, if you want to get involved with On the Spots Motorsports Media, just reach out to Mitchell or I. We have different opportunities for people, and we would really appreciate it because we really want to continue to grow and reach other venues and reach other events. And you know what it takes to do that. Hard work and opportunity.
A little bit of money.
That too. But anyway, Mitchell, thank you very much for everything, buddy. You put in a lot of effort and time on the page.
Oh, no problem. And like again, I really appreciate Luke Bogacki coming on tonight. Was a lot of great educational experience for sure. But again, everyone, have a wonderful Thanksgiving, and we'll see you the next following week.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Reliability to drive thousands of miles. Confidence for those who fly high. Redline oil products give you the power to crush the competition. And a track record of being the best. Redline oil products. You push it to the limit. We'll protect it.
Ready to take your engine to the next level? Scorpion Racing Products delivers precision-engineered, high-performance rocker arms that dominate the track. 100% CNC machined in the USA with aerospace-grade aluminum for unmatched strength and durability. Our rocker arms handle extreme conditions with multiple ratios available to fit your needs. Backed by our exclusive lifetime warranty. When performance matters, choose Scorpion Racing Products. Proven, reliable, unstoppable.